From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day. This is Dateline Malacañang. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Monday formally welcomed President Surangel Whips Jr. of the Republic of Palau in Malacañang Palace. The Palauan president arrived on Sunday at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport or NAIA Terminal 3 in Pasay City. The official visit marks his inaugural visit to the country as Palau's new head of state, underscoring the continued strengthening of diplomatic ties between the two nations. President Whips Jr. is expected to discuss expanding bilateral cooperation in areas such as fisheries, trade, investment, connectivity, and people-to-people ties with President Marcos Jr. and explore new avenues for collaboration, particularly in the health and labor sectors. Both leaders will address South-South cooperation issues, regional concerns, and shared advocacy efforts at multilateral forums. Palau is home to almost 3,000 Filipinos who make up approximately 17% of the host country's population. The Philippines and Palau established diplomatic relations on July 15, 1997, and will celebrate the 30th anniversary of their enduring partnership in 2027.
Dateline Malacañang.
After the signing of the guest book, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. held a bilateral meeting with President Surangel Whips Jr. of the Republic of Palau at the State Dining Room in Malacañang Palace. During the meeting, both leaders exchanged views on expanding cooperation in key areas such as fisheries, trade, investment, connectivity, and people-to-people relations. They are also set to explore potential collaboration in the fields of health and labor, recognizing the significant contributions of nearly 3,000 Filipinos living and working in Palau. Their talks set the stage for closer engagement leading up to the milestone 30th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the Philippines and Palau in 2027. Let us listen to the opening statements of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and President Surangel Whips Jr. of the Republic of Palau during their bilateral meeting in Malacañang Palace.
Our formal diplomatic relations may be young, having been established only in 1997. But our two neighboring nations have had heritage and history in common, with our unifying quest for independence, self-determination that predated all our diplomatic ties. From this historic halls of the Malolos Congress, which was the first Congress of the first organized Congress of the first organized government of the Philippines, to the Philippines' staunch support for Palau's own independence in 1978, our long history of mutual support has remained a cornerstone of our bilateral relationship to this day. With Filipinos making up a significant percentage, I understand it's now 25%. We're a good Catholic country, we believe in multiplying. Their contributions to Palau's economy and society highlight the benefits of our long-standing people-to-people ties. So in this regard, the Philippines looks forward to discussing concrete steps to advance our negotiations on bilateral labor agreements and a social security agreement with the hope that both agreements will be concluded within the year. I launched last year the Philippine-Pacific Initiative to establish focused cooperation with the Pacific in the areas of health, food security, labor mobility, and disaster risk resilience mitigation and management, a step towards a greater collaboration with our Pacific kin. With bilateral health agreements on the horizon with various Pacific Island countries, including, of course, Palau, we are positive that there will yield more exchanges between our healthcare workers and ultimately greater health resilience in our region. As we now meet in Manila, our hope is to further expand our engagements in practical and impactful ways, from agriculture and fisheries to development and technical cooperation. As climate vulnerable, developing archipelagic Pacific nations confronting the challenges of natural disasters and sea level rising, our two countries understand the urgency of effective disaster risk management and collective climate action. We hope to further advance our mutual support in various fora in these critical areas. On this note, may I now invite President Dwips to give his remarks.
President Marcos, first of all, Ali, and warm greetings from Palau. It is indeed a great honor to be able to come and visit the Philippines on our first official visit, and we want to thank you for the warm hospitality we've received since our arrival. I think it just shows the Filipino spirit and the Filipino, really their hospitality, and we're just grateful. You make us feel at home, so thank you. And maybe it's because we have so many Filipinos at home in Palau. You know, I was sharing earlier that there's over 4,000 Filipinos that now, I guess you could say, call Palau home, and we are grateful for all that they do in the development of our young nation, from engineers to doctors to accountants to nurses and helping us in the tourism sector, and of course, most importantly, construction and helping us build our bridges and our hotels and everything else. So we are truly grateful for the Filipino brothers and sisters that have come to Palau and helped us in our development. We're also grateful for the many Palauans that have come to the Philippines and have been able to study here and get educated. But at the same time, we're grateful for, over the years, the medical partnership. So many people have been to the Philippines and have been able to receive medical care here in Palau. In fact, in 1986, my father was burned. 65% of his body was burned. He was medevaced here to Palau and was at Makati Med for over 3 months receiving care, and they saved his life. And we celebrate February 21st, which is as his rebirth or his birthday, because he doesn't know the actual date he was born. And but we're grateful to the really the skillful and talented medical facilities and people that you have here that have been able to save lives and improve the lives of our people, extend their lives. Of course, we're here to further expand and strengthen our relationship as we face geopolitical challenges and also the greatest existential threat, which is climate change. And congratulations on the Philippines being the host of the Loss and Damage Fund. I think it's so appropriate because the Pacific suffers the most from the impacts of climate change. And now more than ever, we need to be together to support each other in these challenges that we have. So we're looking forward to the meetings and continued collaboration in strengthening the bond between our two nations. Thank you.
You just heard the opening statements of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and President Sorangel Whips Jr. of the Republic of Palau during their bilateral meeting in Malacañang Palace.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, Malacañang on Sunday said former President Rodrigo Duterte's accusation that President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. is veering towards a dictatorship as a hoax and described the former as a one-man fake news factory. Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin condemned the remarks. He dismissed the allegations as baseless and ridiculous, pointing out that it is Duterte who is falsely portraying the current administration as a threat to democracy. Bersamin said the administration treat the former president's baseless and ridiculous statements in the same way that Filipinos are dismissive of them, a tall tale from a man prone to lying and to inventing hoaxes. The executive secretary emphasized that the Marcos administration would continue to uphold the Constitution, adhere to the rule of law, and protect the rights of the Filipino people. The former chief magistrate also stressed that it was the previous administration under Duterte that was known for disregarding the rights of individuals and violating due process.
Dateline Malacañang.
Highlighting the growing military ties between the Philippines and Japan, Department of National Defense or DND Secretary Gilberto Chodoro Jr. toured Japanese Defense Minister General Nakatani, Jen Nakatani, around Filipino bases and facilities in Luzon Sunday. In a statement, DND spokesperson Assistant Secretary Arsenio Andolong said Minister Nakatani was given a briefing on and a guided tour of the operational capabilities and ongoing defensive initiatives at Basa Air Base in Florida Blanca, Pampanga Province. No other details were given for security reasons. After the tour at Basa Air Base, Chodoro and Nakatani proceeded to the Wallace Air Station in San Fernando, La Union Province. Andolong said the visit also included a tour of the Air Defense Simulation and Wargaming Center, which plays a key role in military training and strategic planning, and the mobile radar installations, which are vital for monitoring and securing Philippine airspace. With the recent Philippine Senate concurrence on the Reciprocal Access Agreement or RAA between the two countries, Chodoro and Nakatani discussed and explored ways to advance strategic defense partnerships, particularly on maritime and air defense, capacity building activities, and regional security initiatives. In a separate interview, Chodoro said he and other ranking officials will be having an in-depth meeting with the Japanese defense minister and his party on Monday. Chodoro added that Minister Nakatani will not only hold talks but also between him and the president. The defense secretary clarified that the visit is independent of the RAA.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, welcomed the visit of nuclear-powered French aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle, which is part of the mission Clemenceau 25 of the French Carrier Strike Group, or CSG. According to AFP spokesperson Colonel Francel Margaret Padilla, the arrival of Charles de Gaulle in the country is historical, as this is the first ever visit of a French aircraft carrier. Padilla said the 8th iteration of the exercise shows the commitment of the Philippines and France in interoperability and strengthening the alliance between allied countries. The purpose of the said exercise is also to maintain freedom of navigation in the Indo-Pacific region. But Padilla emphasized that this exercise cannot be questioned as it is anchored on international law and a rules-based order. The French CSG, centered around the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, made an operational break in Subic Bay and Manila after holding a bilateral maritime cooperative activity with Filipino forces in the West Philippine Sea. The Charles de Gaulle, together with air defense destroyer and auxiliary oil replenishment ship Jacques Chevalier, arrived in Subic Bay on Friday. Its two other multi-mission destroyer escorts, on the other hand, docked in Manila on Saturday. Commander of the French Strike Force, Rear Admiral Jacques Mallard, clarified that the deployment was not a provocation against any country, but simply an exercise of its freedom to sail in the region. The visit, Mallard said, is also the first time that a French CSG was deployed to the Pacific in years. The operation is France's way of demonstrating that it can intervene with its allies while controlling any escalation to ensure respect of international laws and freedom of sea and air navigation. The 260-meter-long Charles de Gaulle can embark on board up to 30 Rafale marine fighter jets, 2 E-2C Hawkeye, and 3 helicopters.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippines and Australia, as strategic partners, continues to strengthen its collaboration to protect legitimate travelers and strengthen border security. In its collaboration with the Bureau of Immigration, or BI, the Australian Home Affairs underwent an exercise along with the anti-fraud officers of the country. This aims to improve their capabilities to evaluate documents using video spectral comparator, or VSC, technology to determine fake papers and other falsifications done on documents. Besides this, the Australian Border Force also conducted a masterclass for the Philippines Border and Coast Guard officials. They were taught on how to create and implement effective training programs to strengthen territorial security. According to the Australian Embassy, the collaboration between both countries will continue to maintain a safe and prosperous region.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine Embassy in Israel clarified that only home-based Filipino caregivers and hotel workers are allowed to work under the current bilateral labor agreements. According to the advisory, workers in other sectors, such as construction, agriculture, and other services, are not yet allowed due to the continued negotiations between the governments of the Philippines and Israel. If these were allowed in the future, recruitment agencies licensed by the Department of Migrant Workers, or DMW, are the only ones authorized to recruit and deploy workers in Israel. The embassy continues to remind the public to be observant and refrain from being victims of illegal recruiters that offer jobs in Israel. Currently, Crisis Alert Level 2 remains hoisted over Israel, which, according to the Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, deployment of new workers to the country is still suspended.
Dateline Malacañang.
And finally, the Philippines Department of Health, or DOH, strongly refuted the news spreading on social media that apparently there is a new coronavirus that came from China. According to DOH, this is one form of a false alarm that targets to create fear and alarm among the public. The agency said there were no notifications from the World Health Organization or WHO with regards to the apparent new coronavirus variant called HKU5-CoV2. The DOH insisted that they are basing their data provided by the WHO, and information that comes from social media sites needs to be carefully studied. According to Forbes.com, much like COVID-19, HKU5-CoV2 is a virus found in bats and is a type of coronavirus, a large group of germs that can affect mammals and birds.
Dateline Malacañang.
Before we conclude our program, Radyo Pilipinas World Service of the Presidential Broadcast Service is heard over the following shortwave frequencies: 9.475 MHz, 15.640 MHz, and 17.820 MHz. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel at Radyo Pilipinas World Service. You will be able to hear and view our Filipino and English programs, including news updates here in the Philippines. Kindly subscribe, like, and share our post as well. And that concludes this edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, this is Leo Magpayo. Good day and stay safe.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.